Good morning, Filmspiration Nation. It's about 6:10 a.m. I'd gotten up about 45 minutes ago. I was checking a few things online. I'm ready to jump in. So what we have going on today, let me go ahead and switch the screen, is subtitles. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about subtitles was because, here, let me make sure I'm positioning myself just fine over here, or maybe down here. Subtitles are an interesting topic to me. I'm blessed to speak two out of the top 10 languages on earth. So if you take a look at this, you Google, let me see, that's not the screen I wanted to show you, but if you Google, the top 10 languages spoken in the world, this is the first thing that comes up. So babbel.com. So I pulled this article right here. Just wanted to make sure it was a recent article. So this is from September 6, 2019. So it's pretty recent. It's not too old. It's about almost a year old. But the point is that Chinese, number one, 1.3 billion native speakers. And then number two, Spanish, 460 million native speakers. Number three, English, 379 native speakers. So 460, 379. So let's take a look at a world map. If you take a look at a world map, the reason why English and Spanish, I wish I spoke Cantonese. I think Cantonese is actually the Chinese dialect that is referenced as being one of the most spoken, but just Chinese in general. I really do aspire one of these days to actually learn it. But so here's what we got. If we take a look at this map right here, zoom down, you got, of course, Spain. And you have a whole other part of the continent minus Brazil, which is Portuguese. But of course, Portuguese sounds very similar to Spanish, but still, though, it's Portuguese. Still a beautiful sounding language, but you still have this whole section of the world, plus Mexico, Central, South America, and of course the United States that speak Spanish. And of course, all the other places in the world that speak Spanish. So I always like to check every now and then to see where Spanish is, if it's number 2, if it's number 3. It's definitely always in one of the top 10. So basically, number 2 is Spanish, at least on this list right here. Number 1 is Chinese. Of course, number 3 is English. Number 4 is Hindi. I would love to translate films into Hindi as well as Arabic. But English, as we all know, also is the language of business. I wonder when and how that came about, but I'm pretty sure within the last 200 years, especially since the Industrial Revolution, that might have had something to do with it. But very blessed to, excuse me, to speak 2 of the top 3 languages. So back to the movie, here's why that matters. When I'm doing an independent film that is both in English and then in Spanish, and here these sections for the last 2 scenes that I've been working on have been in Spanish, then you're able to connect to 2 different worlds. And then that's only as I make the film itself. Then afterwards, you can do dubbing, you can do more subtitling to get the movie really out there into these 2 different worlds. So my opinion about being bilingual is you're not any better or any worse than anyone else, but what it is amazing access. I think it's amazing access because it's access not just to, if you look at each different language is a world. So I speak 2 languages, so that's access to 2 worlds. And so that's the way I see linguistics. And so that's why right here, working on subtitles. So this is a shorter scene. Color's already done. Let's review that. The color, which is really just brightness and contrast, because again, I got to talk to a photographer friend of mine. I told this story in one of the previous videos. A photographer friend of mine said color's already there in the world. It just has to, and I don't know why cameras wash it out a little bit more, it just has to be brought out through brightening up the contrast and balancing out the contrast and the brightness. So here, brightness, I brought it up to really pull the figures out of the background. And then of course, even more so right here, where the door's lighter. And then that's why I also had this, this rock lamp that my wife has turned on. That way we're able to make the figures out. So we know that it's people, and you know, that's it, it works good enough right there. Contrast, so I pumped that brightness to do that up to 10 from 0. Contrast, I pumped that up to 15, whereas I would usually put that 15 points above, which would be 10 plus 15, 25. Except you do that, it goes too dark. And so I found that in low light levels, if you go up only 5 points above the brightness on the contrast, that seems to work too. But every single situation and every single lighting scenario in the scenes is going to be different. So 10 and 15 or 5 points above on the contrast above the brightness seems to work. So that's already taken care of. The audio is already taken care of. I've already dropped a denoiser filter into there. So let's just go ahead and jump in. So these two have already been taken care of. So I'm going to grab the word was, copy that, then leave it alone. And then, so what I'm going to do is then listen to the next line of dialogue. And I'm just going to basically create these subtitles one by one. Now, but you'll see why I copied it. It's, I'm pretty sure you guys already can figure it out. But let's go to File, New, and then, you know what? Let's see what she says. Whenever you'd like, my son, you're always welcome here. Okay, so, oh, new legacy title, 2, so 3. So Adobe already lays out the numbering, so it just calls it title number 3. So I just add on to that. I'll put like a little space with a dash and then a space. So, and then, you know, the first few words of what she said. So whenever you'd like, son. So we'll go with that. Now I copied the word was, pasted into there as a starting point, and then that makes sure that the text all stays the same, because right here on the previous templates of the 2 previous subtitles that I had designed, it's, and I also took from the previous scene also, there's a lot of subtitling there too. It basically is all of the preset properties. So I'm just taking the same thing to construct the next one, and the next one, then the next one after that. So let's see, let's write, oh, title, okay. Whenever you'd like, son. Okay, so that went a little long, so let's see how we can position that. So, and by the way, what I always do is, like, ironically enough, I'm a horrible speller. Okay, so to keep that font size, we're just going to break it down like this. We have the space or the screen real estate right here. So center it right there. And then what I usually like to do is this line right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. So usually when it's one line of dialogue, I like to put this little square right here on the side on that line. But it all depends. So, you know, with the safety borders of the frame, I like to use those in conjunction with the text. So let's remove that. Whenever you'd like, son, you're always welcome here. Okay, you're always welcome here. Okay, perfect. So I'll read it, and my eye is usually really good at spell check, but here's the thing, I gotta admit, I am a horrible speller. So, okay, so before it produces it right here, I'm gonna cut myself off a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay it in, and then after I lay it in, I'm gonna go ahead and lay it into the subtitles folder I created right there. So we'll leave that open, and there's all your subtitles. So as you gather them, as you make them, you lay them in, and then you put them away in the subtitles folder. You guys remember, 50% of the battle of editing is self-organizing. Do you know how to self-organize? That's why I feel like my work is in chaos if I'm not self-organizing. So, so anyway, back to spell checking. So that's where I usually get my wife in. You know, she's asleep right now, but when she wakes up, I'll ask her, hey, can you take a look at these Subtitles, you know, just for spelling purposes. She's amazing at catching some, you know, inaccuracies. So if you know of somebody who can objectively look at this and, you know, or maybe they've got 2 cents as to how the translation can better work, or if there's a better phrasing or a better word that can be used, have them take a look at it. But more than anything, have them take a look at it for purposes of just making sure that your spelling is right. Because I've put out work where the spelling has been horribly wrong, and it's been embarrassing. But you know what? Oh well, like, you know, it's like no one's perfect. All right, so let's move forward.
Cuando quieras, mijo, aquí tienes tu casa. Pues, cuando quieras, mijo, aquí tienes tu casa.
Okay, so maybe we can stretch this out into 2 lines without making the text any smaller. So let's try that. Oh. Doop de doop de doop. Okay, that's not going to work, as you can see right there. Well, you know, like, let's move this. Technically it does work, except it's so crowded down there from the right side of the frame to the left, or the left side of the frame to the right side of the frame, that I'd rather not. So let's go ahead and keep it double layered. And then we'll move this back right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep that double layered. Go back to here, center it. All right.
Cuando quieras, mijo, aquí tienes tu casa. Pues a ver.
Okay, so it cuts off right there because now we L cut into that audio of the dialogue that's happening outside of the room after we go from this scene right here. Now this is called an L cut because if you take a look at it, you know, from the side, at least this is my theory on it, you can kind of see, if you tilt your head, that it actually looks like an L. So this is the upstanding part right here, and then it comes down this way, and then it goes along with this video and this audio right here. So that's an L cut. It's a technique I love to use. It's a technique that I love when filmmakers use. It gives your work a very nice touch, and so I like the L cut.
Cuando quieras, mijo, aquí tienes tu casa. Pues a ver cuando.
And the subtitles aren't too big or too intrusive, but they're not small either, because when you're doing subtitles, you have to make sure that they're very legible. And when you're doing subtitles as well, you have to make sure that you pick a translation, in this case from English to Spanish, or I'm sorry, from Spanish to English, that most closely matches what the sentiment of what's being spoken, but at the same time as in a condensed form as possible, without losing any of the essence of what's being translated. So that's where you really have to take a moment and think, okay, what's the best way to verbally lay this out in the text, according to what they're saying.
Pues a ver cuando me evita de nuevo Natalia.
Okay, so he says, well, you know, she says, hey, you're welcome here anytime. And he says, well, let's see when Natalia invites me over next. So that's kind of long in English. So let's see how we can do that in Spanish. So again, next subtitle. All right, a few words there. Lay in that was. As far as for the properties, so you go back to the top, get rid of the was. Okay, so let's take a look at yep, still too long for the frame, so that's okay. So we're gonna undo that. Now we're gonna drag it more or less, you know, I like to help Adobe. Okay, so, and then this font family is called Lucida. So let me see if there's anything more to the name. Wow. So I forgot which one exactly it is. I want to say Lucida Console. Oh, Lucida Regular. My bad. There it is. Okay. So Lucida Regular. Well, it depends on when Natalia invites me over again. Invites me over. I think that more or less does it with the translation, hopefully not. And then afterwards, what I'll do is I'll replay it. And then if it's too fast for the eye, if the text is too much for the period of time in which it has to cover for that translation, then you rework it. So we're going to go ahead and lay it in and just keep on moving forward right here. So again, grab the text you just made, lay it in. So let's create a little space right there. Okay, that's how many frames? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's about 3 frames of space, so that works. So we will see. Okay, so 3 frames of a pause, and again, let's go ahead and save to our 3 projects, our 3 project icons. Alrighty.
Ahí le digo que te traiga a cenar de vez en cuando, mijo.
Okay, then mom says, I'll let her know to bring you over for dinner every now and then. Or I'll tell her to bring you around for dinner every now and then. Coffee, got to do it. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to this. Oh, let's put that away. Title by title. Now the thing about Adobe, oops, that's not what I wanted. The thing about Adobe Premiere Pro is that I can hit Control T, but that takes me to another type of titler when the titler that I need is called the legacy title. And for some reason, you see how right here it's got Control N if you want a new sequence, Control Alt N for a new project, etc. So I wish there was a shortcut to produce a new legacy title. Now I could hit Control T, but then it lays it in literally right here. So I don't really dig that. So what I do is, unfortunately, without a control command, you just have to go straight to it, but that's okay. It's just it's an extra second or two. Okay. Okay, like anything else, it's important to just get your thoughts and your words out, and then afterwards you tweak and you adjust. So, centered, and then we can put that square toward the bottom. Again, double layering, it's different from, now if I was single layering or single lining a single line of text, it would look like this. Usually I would put the bottom line right here, and that's about, what I'd like right there, except, oh, didn't undo for some reason. Except we're not going to do that. So for dinner every now and then, so we're going to create 2 layers right there and then reposition. I'll tell her to bring you over for dinner now and then. You know what? We can put the word every now and then. Every now and then. I'll tell her to bring you over for dinner every now and then, she says. Bam. All right. And again, we check, okay, not too low. Okay, that's perfect. Let that go, lay that in, trim that right now, put that in the subtitles folder.
De nuevo, Natalia.
Ahí le digo que te traiga a cenar de vez en cuando, mijo.
Gracias. Gracias. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Gracias.
No te espera cenar de vez en cuando, mijo.
I'll tell her to bring you over for dinner every now and then.
Gracias.
He says, gracias. Thank you. So let's go ahead and lay in that thank you. Now, I would, if this was one line of text, then I can use one line for what she says and then one line for his gracias, his thank you. But since her line of dialogue is so long and we need the 2 lines, I wouldn't want to try to then double, triple layer it with then his response of gracias in there, because that would be a total of 3 lines. That's a little too much in my opinion. So break it up, you just make another one. New legacy title. Gracias. Gracias. Okay. Let's bring it down here. I usually like to match it up when it's one line of dialogue to where the bottom line of the safety guard on the word itself matches the bottom line of the safety guard on the frame right here. As you can see, but then of course that disappears. And then of course you center it. I love these centering tools, but I only use the horizontal center, not so much the vertical one, because then if you use the vertical one, of course, it throws it into the center of the frame. Title 6, gracias.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
So, buenas noches. Oh, I was thinking of the word gracias in Spanish, and then I wrote it in Spanish. So let's redo that in English to thank you. Coffee isn't kicked in yet. Okay, perfect. That's awesome.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
So he says, buenas noches, good night.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Good night, good night. So that'll be a really simple one to do. And again, hit the edit, preferences, autosave. So I've got the autosave saved to automatically save every 1 minute. So and maximum project versions 30. So it actually saves it in another folder. So let's say, for example, you made a mistake 29 steps ago. You can actually go back those 29 steps because I have it set to 30, maybe even 30 also. But basically save, save, save. And I love that it saves on its own. So we're going to leave that alone the way it is and keep on going. So I've noticed that I automatically out of OCD have it always hit, save anyway. So, but if you don't do it, then it will automatically save in the case of, the way I've programmed it, every 1 minute. So I love that. I love that because I have lost so many projects and suffered the consequences of doing so, by being backed up or having to reconstruct a scene, things like that, because I have not saved or I forgot to save. So it's a really good habit to get into. And you don't even have to be into the habit all that much if you have a control save feature or an auto save set. So.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, buenas noches. Oh, let's move that into the subtitles. Okay. New legacy title. save this. Good night. That was pretty simple. They both say good night just to indicate that there's a separation, or that it's basically each of them saying good night. I'll usually indicate so by separating two lines of dialogue, of course, and then, of course, with a little dash. I don't know. That's the way I've seen it done in films. And when you have double dialogue,
Buenas noches.
you know, and you get it. Everyone knows, well, not everyone, but, you know, most people are very familiar with the word buenas noches, buenos dias, mi casa, su casa, those basics, right? And so you pretty much get it. Like he's saying goodbye, good night, have a good evening.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Okay. And moving on, control save.
Hijo.
Okay. Keep on moving forward. Doop de doop de doop. Oh, I already have an S. Sun. She says sun. Bring it down. So I'm going to start to go a little faster here. It's not dilly-dally too much. Bring this up a little bit more. Okay, so it's about to step on that. We'll get rid of that right there. Position.
Hijo. 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 Hijo.
Mande.
All right. That away in the subtitles.
Mande, señora.
Mande, señora. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Oh, open. See, sometimes it's so stuck together that I'll select another command. It wasn't there. Get rid of the was. Reposition. Bring it down. Bam. Centered. Now, is there a more formal way to do all this subtitling? Probably. And I'm pretty sure some will say, well, Edgar's doing it wrong. And I kind of don't care, because I don't care about other people's formalities, because as long as I'm more or less getting the point across and communicating what needs to be communicated in the scene, then I don't have, you know, I'm doing this at like 6:39 a.m. because I don't have all day. So I got to work with the time that I have to work with, but I have to keep on moving and progressing forward. So that's why I do what I do, how I do it.
Mande, señora. Mande, señora.
So I always like to let the subtitle go just a little bit after they're done speaking. So it says, yes, ma'am.
Mande, señora.
So he finishes right about here, so I give it a few more frames, maybe till about there.
Mande, señora.
Just to kind of give the eye a little bit of a good opportunity to catch up. So.
Pues seguro que, bueno, tú y Natalia son solamente amigos. Pues seguro que.
So she says, well, are you sure? And then so we'll take these two sections right here, and we'll break those up as one versus having two different ones right here. Oh, let's put this away too. Subtitles, we'll just close that up. After a while, it starts to get too big, depending on how many subtitles you have to do. So you just close it up, and then they appear right here, and then you just throw it back in there, but for the purposes of continuing to organize. So.
Pues.
Well.
Seguro que.
Are you sure that? Okay, so well, are you sure that? So boom, legacy title number 10. Well, ... Are you sure? ... So the reason why I will write it out right here, and what I used to do previously is I used to copy this and then paste it into the titler, except then you have to reselect all of the properties, like, you know, the shadow, the height, the font type, etc. And that became very, very tedious every single time, especially at the rate at which I have to keep on moving and progressing. So I write it right here, but for my brain to remember, to become accustomed, as with anything else, repetition is the way to ingrain something into the mind. So I'll write it right here, and then at least I wrote it one down. I use 3 times is usually good for me to remember something. You know, if you say a person's name 3 times, if you say anything 3 times, it's easier to remember. Here I'm writing it down 1 time out of 3 times, so it's something. But you know, it's helping your brain in the process of making this title, so it works. Well, ... She says, well, are you sure that? So she wants to ask, you know, she wants to ask him a question. Won't go into the details of the story itself, but she wants to ask him a question, but she can't really bring herself to ask him the question at first, but eventually she does. Well, are you sure that ...
Pues seguro que
Are you sure that? And then we will get rid of that. Organize that into the subtitles folder. Thank you very much. 50% of any battle in video content creation is organization, in my opinion. Self-organize on the front end, it'll make your process flow a whole lot better as you organize, or I'm sorry, as you edit, because of the organization.
seguro que
So then organization in your process flow becomes one less thing that you have to think about. So that's the beautiful thing behind that.
bueno, tú y Natalia son solamente amigos. Tú y Natalia son solamente amigos.
Well, that you and Natalia are only friends. Okay, so that's what she says, that, well, that you and Natalia are only friends. New legacy title, coffee needs to kick in a whole lot faster. A little long for the title, but again, insert for the brain. And so since her sentiment right here on this line came off of the previous one, that's why we'll throw a ... in on the front end to indicate that this is actually a continuation of previous information, or basically the previously spoken words. That's good right there. Well, that you and Natalia are only friends, question mark. Bam, lay that in.
Tú y Natalia
Lay that down, stretch it back.
tú y Natalia son solamente amigos.
Okay, so she's there listening, and then I think
Solamente amigos.
so I like the stretch over the title stretching over her, but then I'm okay because we go into a pause. The pause communicates a lot. The look on Stefano Robesa, our main male lead actor's face right here says a lot. So subtitles are a funny thing because obviously you need to communicate what's being said, but also don't forget that content creation with regard to, not audio, but in the case of, video and filmmaking and whatnot, it's a visual language. And so you have to remember that that was a very big part of the actors and actresses' responsibilities to communicate a lot right here, to communicate through body language, through tone, what's going on in the scene. And so Stefan is definitely a master of doing that. Once he and a lot of, or a few of the other actors and actresses, once we talked through the scene and we got like, okay, like here's what's going on. This character did this, but here's why he doesn't like it. And then here's why she's going to react like this, and so on and so forth. And you talk those things through. And then once you see amazing actors like Stefan lock in with that ability, you really do see that come across the screen. And so that's why the verbiage is important here. And it's important to get the translation right. But in comparison to the tonal delivery, the facial expressions, I don't worry too much about the verbiage in these cases because, again, it being a visual medium, everything can be communicated right here. Or if not everything, a lot can be communicated right here visually through facial expressions. And Stefan Oropesa is a master of that. So let's go ahead and lay this in.
Sí.
Oh, I had already done that. Again, coffee. So we'll put that in the subtitles folder.
Sí. Solo somos amigos. Sí.
So this one will be kind of simple. It says, yes, just friends. Yes, we're just friends. Short enough, close enough. All right, let's bring that down. Yes, we're just friends. Okay. Awesome. Looks good to me. Zoom out a little bit. Grab the title, lay it down.
Sí.
Scale it back.
Sí. Solo somos amigos.
That, bring it down.
Todos amigos. Solo somos amigos.
Bueno, pues.
Bueno.
Bueno, pues.
Bueno.
Manejo.
All right, so that's done. That's laid in. We put this in the subtitles folder, and oh, let me try to see if I can adjust my seat. Oh, that's the highest it goes right there. All right, time to stretch. You know what's funny is that like this is definitely my my kicking it shirt, my hangout at home shirt, because I noticed that like I'm always wearing this one in a lot of the videos. So, it's the one I'm super comfortable in. And as far as for clothing and positioning and whatnot, you got to find out what's comfortable, what works for you in your editing setup and in your editing process. And so I've heard of people editing in pajamas because they're comfortable. I've heard of before when I was a little bit more hardcore, and this is only a thing with me, not like I told this to anybody, but like I refuse to take off my shorts and my belt because the discomfort of wearing the belt and the shorts, even if it was late at night, my brain kind of said, okay, like, you get to get into those comfortable pajamas when you finish this scene. And so it was kind of a little reward that I would give myself. But now, now you have to do what's comfortable and works for you. So, this shirt in particular, this black one, super comfortable. So And it really does factor in, because when you're uncomfortable and you don't want to edit, and you don't know if maybe it's an article of clothing, or maybe it's your chair, the way your chair is positioned, or if you're too high or too low, all of that's going to affect your editing and your editing flow, and whether or not you can let yourself get into that flow and that rhythm of editing. So do what works for you, do what's comfortable for you. And so that's why I'm always changing and adjusting and stretching and standing up and sitting down. And I'm thinking about, one of those standing desks that comes up, because, it's just too much sitting. That's not healthy either. So.
Bueno, pues.
Bueno.
Okay, so let's move forward. She says, all right then. All right then. So, and he says the same thing too, more or less. All right then, and she says, all right. Or I'm sorry, she says, all right then, and he says, all right. Alrighty. Create that, lay that in.
Bueno, pues.
Bueno.
There's a space, a pause right here.
Bueno.
So I'm going to say when his eyes disconnect from her and the communication's over, that's when I'll go ahead and just let it leave the screen.
What?
And actually, let's do this. Let's bring this piece of video down here. Just because I'm not a major fan.
Bueno.
Not a major fan of leaving a piece of subtitle hovering up there so high. So we'll bring it down.
Bueno, pues.
All right. And to go a little OCD, let's cover all the 3 project icons for a save. Beat you, Adobe. Ha 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 ha.
Bueno, pues.
Bueno.
Manejo con cuidado. Manejo con cuidado.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
Drive safely. Thank you. Good night. Good night. So the other good night, we can actually copy and paste it from the other one. So.
Manejo con cuidado.
Gracias.
So drive carefully. He says thank you. So, gracias. Doop-de-doop-de-doop. Okay. Oh, am I blind? Good God. That's not the coffee thing anymore, so I'm not going to say that. Okay, legacy title. Drive safely, she says. He says, thank you. Drive safely. And he says, thank you. So we bring it down. And bam. Okay. Now, I know that a lot of you out there know what the spelling of the word safely is. Whenever I don't trust myself, I just look it up. S-A-F-E-L-Y. S-A-F-E-L-Y. Yep. That's what I'm telling you, is that, like, people's brains work in different ways. And so I can work on a whole movie, but I can't confidently say that I spelled safely correctly. But that's just my brain. If you're a good speller, congratulations to you. And I wish I had that ability, but I've got other abilities in other areas. So there you go. So anytime you're in doubt, look something up, especially if your editing system is connected to the internet. You know, like you just pull up the Googles right here and bam, you're set. So let's go back to this. Drive safely. Almost there, everyone.
Manejo con cuidado.
Gracias.
And then we'll do the same thing right here. This piece of video, we'll drop that down, line this up to then drop. Make sure we're not stepping on any other video. Nope, we're good. Let's go ahead and redo that.
Con cuidado.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
So you said, gracias, buenas noches.
Manejo con cuidado.
Drive safely.
Gracias.
Alrighty, last subtitle, which is the thank you. So I do recall we did have a thank you, or I'm sorry, not a thank you. Good night. So number 7, okay, good night and good night. They both say good night to each other a second time around. So all we're gonna do is copy that. Now, why not lay in title number 7 for the last one also? So you just double up title number 7, because I want to create its own title and properly call it title number 15 as it is. But I just copied it over. So, you know, it's just a few extra steps. It's not like it's horrible. So let's go ahead and do that. File, legacy title. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Good night. Good night. So this will probably be one of the few times where I'm not laying in the previous regular word, which is the word was. And there you go. Take a look at it. Get out of there. Okay, so interesting thing. When you're in the folder, right, and you create the title, this time, number 15 dropped straight into the folder right there. So always pay attention to where your stuff is dropping in. So I think because the folder was open, so it works for me. It's one less step for me to do.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Buenas noches.
Here, after, you know, good night and good night.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Here, I want to, again, let it linger for just a few frames past when the dialogue is done being spoken, but not so much to where it's going to be on screen and distract away from actress Karen Marroquin's face, because she's communicating a lot in this very moment as she listens to this dialogue going on outside at the front door, outside of her room. And so a lot of that is happening, again, in her facial expressions, her smile, etc. So I would not want to detract any attention from that.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
So I take it off, and then the moment lingers right there. So let's go ahead and take a look, and actually, I'm gonna beat you again, Adobe. And do what I call OCD saving. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at the scene.
Debí haberle dado la medicina al principio.
Put me up there.
Debí haberle dado la medicina al principio para así callarla. Esta muchacha.
Muchas gracias por todo, señora. Estuvo bien delicioso.
Cuando quieras, mijo, aquí tienes tu casa.
Pues a ver cuándo me evita de nuevo. Natalia.
So as I'm watching the scene, I'm looking for the speaking rhythms as they correlate to the or how the subtitles correlate to the speaking rhythms, and of course spell check, but within my power. So that's why I bring in my wife to double check my spelling, because it's super necessary, trust me.
Ahí le digo que te traiga a cenar de vez en cuando, mijo.
For dinner every now and then.
De vez en cuando, mijo.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Good night.
Hijo,
Mande, señora.
Yes, ma'am.
pues
So right here, I want to zoom in to see. Okay, yeah, there is a space.
Señora.
Pues
Well, are you sure
seguro
that,
que, bueno, tú y Natalia,
that you and Natalia are
son
only
solamente
friends?
amigos.
Question mark.
Sí.
Yes.
Solo somos
We're just
amigos.
friends.
bueno, pues,
Bueno. Solo somos amigos.
Are only friends. Just friends.
Sí.
So I'm gonna shorten this because Mom's already referenced that she's talking about Natalia and Andres, and so he says yes, we're just friends. So we're gonna get rid of that we're, put just friends, and awesome. So get rid of that.
Sí. Solo somos amigos.
Again, if you can communicate the same thing but condensed it, and that's the way cinema is in general. If you can communicate something in more of a short manner and still the visuals accompanied by the audio still communicate what you're trying to get across in that moment within that scene, then mission accomplished. And in this case, it works. We got rid of one word. The essence of what he's communicating is still there.
bueno, pues,
Bueno.
manejo con cuidado.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
All right then, all right. Drive safely.
Manejo con cuidado.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and conclude this scene. Actually, you know what? Before I do my little OCD saving, I'm just going to lock everything up right here. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and bring this video down, then bring the subtitle down. Same thing right here. Bring this video down, it's going to cut into that. Then bring this subtitle down. All right. So I know that there, I know that there are editors out there that love to go like hardcore with the layers, maybe 5, 6, 7. Like, I mean, we've all seen those crazy images of like, things 10 layers high, especially if you're doing like CGI graphics, laying in CGI or maybe CGI text. I like to keep things of a very simplified manner. So I'll go complex and then I'll break the complexity down to a simplified structure. So 2 layers right here in the editing, and then what was 2 layers of video is now only one line of video on V1 for video 1, and the text, or the subtext above. So there you go. So gonna lock that, everything's locked. And bam, okay. And then we'll open this up right here. In and the out point. So. All right. Happy with that scene. When my wife wakes up, gonna have her take a look at subtitles. She's amazing at catching little things like that. And just that, everyone. So back to linguistics. This movie, being mostly in English. English is the language of business of the world. I've met so many people from so many countries in Europe, Eastern Europe, Asia, Mexico, Central, South America. A lot of people know, a lot of people know English, and that's a really good thing. It's a common unifying factor, but I'm also very, very proud of the fact that I know Spanish. And so, which is why I threw that aspect of my culture, of myself, my linguistics, of that part of my linguistics into the movie itself, because it is very much a reality here in the United States. And so It's to be acknowledged. It plays a role within the world right here that I've constructed within this feature film, All We Have. And why not hit 2 of the top 10 most spoken languages on earth if you can? And that's what I got to say about that. Everyone, thank you so much. And if you have not done so, please hit that subscribe button as well as that little bell. That way you're notified next time I make a new video. YouTube won't let you know, YouTube's algorithm won't let you know that when I make a new video. So please go ahead and do that, and I will love you forever. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching this crazy journey as I bring this on the back end, as I bring this feature film forward. And yeah, just working toward it bit by bit. And, you know, whatever your thing is, if you're working on a feature, oh, you know what? Hold on. Stop the share. Okay. If you're working on a feature, if you're working on a short film, whatever your thing is, do it well. And don't wait for anyone's blessing or anyone's permission. Run out there, do your thing, tell your stories, teach yourself how to do it well, and do it to the best of your abilities with the resources at hand. Everyone, I love you all. Have a great and productive Monday. Have a great and productive week. And see you here for more later on Filmspiration. Bye.